Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We did a move, and I haven't figured out exactly where in the house to do these things. So I'm sitting in the garage in the car. So my wife and I both have COVID. And a few days ago, I gave it to her. So she's a few days behind me. And a few days ago, I did one of these Globinars, and after she woke up around 8 o'clock Pacific, she said, "You woke me up." And so I said, "Oh, I better not do that." So I thought if I go in the garage, in the car, and close the door, she's probably not going to hear me. So I'm hoping that's the case. So sorry for bad lighting and probably certainly bad optics, but hopefully you can hear me. Um, this is a program that is going to be centered around positive intelligence, but I would say it's more centered around and more on the topic of productivity and happiness and how the global tribe manages through. So this is a universal human issue, right? What I've found personally is that the global tribe, the people who are doing global business, tend to be on the extreme positive end of being able to have been sorted through all of these issues. If you haven't been able to kind of get your life in order, then the concept of doing global business in an organized and successful way probably won't be very appealing because it'll feel chaotic, and you won't be able to have a lot of other things in your life worked out, like sitting in your car trying to figure out like where can I go where I don't wake up my wife. um Most of us have worked through those things, and we have stability in our lives, in our families, in our business, in our mind. And that's really important for global business. Too much stability, of course, is not necessarily a good thing. You want to be flexible and resilient, and you want to be a good listener, and there's a whole variety of things, and a lot of those elements really came to light for me as I went into the positive intelligence program. And so I'm happy to share more later, but we have like real experts in the room today. And so what I'd love to be able to do is hear from them in terms of what are some of the things that busy executives should do. I'd love to hear from all of you. I'd love to hear what works for you, what your perspectives are, what hasn't maybe worked for you. And so that we can kind of at the end of this hour, and we won't go ideally more than 55 minutes. At the end of the hour, we'll each have hopefully a different perspective, a new perspective, some fresh ideas, and to be able to move forward after this meeting, to be able to be even better with our productivity, even better in building relationships, and even better in being happy. And so one of the real strong key proponents for me, and someone who's really an inspiration for me, is Connie Kadinsky. When I thought about having a new board chair for the Greater Phoenix Global Chamber this year. We had last year a tremendously well-connected international expert, Hank Marshall, who's off the charts in so many different ways. And so when I thought about who would I want somebody who's really stable and really well-connected and organized and positive and doesn't mind selling at all. But doing it in a very professional and great way. And so I kept coming back to Connie as the person that I wanted to be in this role. And she didn't kind of fit the traditional mold of a board chair, but oh my God, she's been one of the best board chairs we've ever had ever at Global Chamber. She's just this ball of positive forward movement, and everything, and almost every day I get something really positive from her. And through the interactions just early on, I think she was the one that introduced me to positive intelligence. And And it was really fascinating. And I love probably the way she has incorporated it into her life in such a positive way. And so, Connie, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being such an inspiration for the chapter and for all of us. And would love to have you kind of kick things off, perhaps, and tell us a little bit more about what drives you, how you've used these techniques to be as successful and positive and impactful as you are.
Oh, thank you, Doug. Well, I have a question for everybody. Who woke up this morning and the first thought was, I love my life? Anybody? Show hands.
Yes.
I love my life. Okay, so look at that. We have a tribe here. And that's what positive intelligence has done for me. Now, not every morning do I wake up and say that. Most mornings. And I took the program with Andrea in October of 2020. And we both became certified in the positive intelligence, which is pretty rigorous. It's a 6-month program, and we have to jump through several hoops to get certified. And I have a sales training company, and I put over 140 people through the program. And pediatricians, one of my clients is a pediatric recruiter. And one of the pediatricians who's on the executive board at a children's hospital said, I've been through therapy, I've had coaching, I have done other programs, and positive intelligence is what has really pulled it together for me. And also, I'm a licensee of 2 behavioral scientists out of Dallas for 27 years and always worked in the cognitive psychology area. Well, positive intelligence and Shirzad Chamine has pulled together positive psychology, performance psychology, and neuroscience, as well as the cognitive behavioral. And it comes together like you would not believe. And I am thrilled with the program. I continue to work it. My mental muscle this morning is at 1,427, and I continue to work the program. And one of my saboteurs was restless, meaning just constantly busy. However, was I really as productive? I can tell you I get more done in a relaxed, stable, lovely mindset in one day than I used to get done in 3. And I say relax because it's more intuitive that moves me forward. So I will pause there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I encourage you, some people go, I've already done that work. Well, this program is for people who want to even get better. So with that said, I will pause.
Yeah, that I love the point that you made there about how comprehensive it is. And my wife is a sociologist, psychologist, criminologist, which probably explains a lot about being married for 40 years to me. But when she listened to a lot of the content, she said, that's very comprehensive, in terms of its understanding, and how it's pulled that together, I think is really extraordinary. And so, Connie, how long to be able to get to that 1400? That was one of my questions for you, because I'm only about halfway there. How long have you been doing it, and what are some of the changes that you saw in your life?
So 2.5 years
Okay.
is how long I've been doing it. And I'm just, like I say, I'm happier and healthier and more productive, more patient. And I have empathy like you would not believe. One of the essences of our sage is empathy. And Shirzad said that people in the United States just don't have as much empathy as other countries. And I'm more compassionate, and I've just drawn so many fabulous experiences into my life, including Global Chamber and working in a global market. And my husband retired and he was not content. And he has done positive intelligence for 2 years now. He's created a new life. He teaches chess, he plays wheelchair tennis and pickleball. And when he goes saboteur, I go sage. When I go sab, he goes sage. So it really works when you have a relationship with people that are doing this program. And for many of you, when you do the positive intelligence with the Global Chamber, guess what? Your family gets to go through at no cost. So please take this into consideration. It creates an entire different family dynamic.
Great. You touched on a couple key points. One is understanding what your own saboteurs are and recognizing through the process that they're always going to be there. You just need to kind of regulate them or manage them in a positive way so that your sage can overcome those. And the other aspect that I thought has been so important, and both of these you can do for free, is understanding how much of your time the brain is working for you versus against you. And I gotta believe, Connie, especially now working with you, that you must be at a very high level because you've been very patient with me and you're very, as I watch you work with other people, you're very empathic and you're listen. And one of the fun things in the book too is about the innovation process and talking through with people. One of the natural inclinations for all of us is to be a judge. That's the main saboteur, right? And
Yeah.
so when we're in a brainstorming session or somebody has an idea, the natural response seems to be by people, well, that's a dumb idea, and you're trying to like either hold back, like, how do I get the fact that my brain is telling me that that's a dumb idea? What do I say instead of, whoa, that's dumb? Some people say it, but most in the global tribe are at least polished enough not to do that. But he goes through how better to deal with those circumstances, focus in on what you like about the idea rather than listen to the judge that's wanting to say that everything is bad. And so there are fun little tricks in the whole process about that. So anything else you'd like to add relative to those points?
I will pause and give other people the opportunity to share. So thank you.
Fantastic. Any questions for Connie?
One thing, Doug, I just want to say Maxine Tong is on, and Maxine is a colleague of mine that I met in Trinidad, and we've both been through positive intelligence, and we are collaborating and have landed a project out of the Caribbean in working with salespeople. And both of us working together as a team and having positive intelligence, we just are able to call it when we need it. So it works with people that are working within teams to get every people into this mindset. So Maxine, Thank you for coming. She just moved to New York from Trinidad, and she's a positive intelligence coach and also a Gestalt coach. So yeah.
Maxine, what's your history with this and other ways of balancing your life, and what would you like to add to the conversation?
Hi, Doug. Thanks for allowing me 2 seconds. And hi, Connie. Good to see you again. So I'm not on camera because I just got the invitation for this call. So apologies all. And that is my saboteur at work, because I am one of those high achieving saboteurs. And so it kicks in every time I have to make a presentation or prospect with a new client, or just about anything where I think my reputation is at stake. So based on that, I'm learning that I can show up just the way I am, unprepared.
Yay.
And really just go for what it is that I'm qualified to do, I'm experienced to do. So it really was a game changer for me around that high performance saboteur, because that saboteur always says to me, you're not prepared enough, it's not looking good enough. If you just do X, Y, and Z, you will. So it really helps me to contain that whole statement. If I do X, then I will do Y, and just really remind myself, and more importantly, ground myself in being present, in being in the here and now. And what I love about it is that it really tags into the other pieces of work that I've done before. So all the work I've done before in terms of Gestalt, being in the present, acknowledging the client as perfectly imperfect, knowing that the client there's nothing that I need to fix, it does not in any way contradict that knowledge. What it reminds me is that instead of thinking of the client, think about myself, be my own sage, be my own coach. So I would really definitely encourage everybody to sign up. It is a game changer. Thanks, Connie. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. How have you measured the progress relative to how it's impacted you, or have you? You know, is it more something that you feel better about, or are there things in your life that you've noticed are different and better?
It's two things. It's one, how I feel. And I remember a couple of years ago, Connie and I had Connie had given me an assessment. I don't remember the name of it, but the assessment was really to do about, it showed me up as a planning person versus a creative person. I did the assessment after a couple months after I did this positive intelligence course. And I had actually switched into being a more creative person with less planning. And that is really because I started working my sage. So that was the external proof of what I felt inside. You know, so that whole being able to pause in the moment, that ability to give myself permission to stay in creative, not to be a doing person all the time, and that being has real benefits. I was able through that assessment to really see that I had moved and shifted how I approach things.
Fantastic. I'm also a hyperachiever. That's my number one saboteur as well. So I can relate to that. And you might find it humorous, or I kind of found it humorous, that my daughter had encouraged me to do some things with myself over the last couple of years. And she once said a couple months ago, as I was going through this, she said, "Dad, you're a narcissist." It's like, what? You know, it's like a narcissist. I'm the opposite. I'm totally like not confident enough, and I don't care. It's like, what in the world? So when I read the hyperachiever description, I could figure out why she had come up with that conclusion. So I sent her the description I said, "Hey, I'm taking this positive intelligence. Here's what I am. This is me. I'm I'm crazy. It's like, this is my saboteur." And she responded, "Oh my God, you're not a narcissist." It's like, no, I'm not. I'm this. And now that I know what it is, I can manage it. And so it sounds like you've done the same thing, where you've been able to, by understanding who you are in a better way, you've been able to control that and show up in different ways and better ways. Congratulations.
Absolutely, Doug. Yeah, you're right. That's completely right.
Yeah. Are you doing some teaching of this, or what is your role? What is your work? Tell us a little bit more about what you do, and maybe how we can help you in your business.
Sure. Thanks, Doug. So I am an organizational consultant, and all of my work is based on Gestalt philosophy. And as an OD consultant, there are a couple of things that I do and lots of things I don't do, of course. So I really work in the coaching field and facilitation field. I work with leaders who want to develop their own unique style of leadership, as well as they want to create more effective teams. So team coaching, individual leadership coaching. And based on that, I wrote 2 books. So my books are really based on my experiences as a business and process improvement expert. So I help teams and organizations redefine their processes to line it up with their strategy, because a lot of times we do strategy, but we don't focus on the how of the strategy. as well as in helping teams to create safe spaces. So that is based, so I wrote the book basically based on an experiment I did in different organizations to really help teams to form and be more productive. Because when people show, and this is where it links exactly with positive intelligence, right? Because when we are not triggered and when we understand our triggers, we feel safe. So the question is, how do we make a team of people show up working together and feel safe? And that way is really around PQ intelligence. So I've been able to add that into my personal coaching, individual coaching, as well as the team coaching to help people feel safe so that they can do the work they need to do to be more productive, be more effective, to show up as their creative selves. And that creation is what we all work with, that creativity, because we all know how to balance a budget. We all know how to fix a great meal from scraps in the kitchen. So creativity is what is one of the things that we are innately able to do. And somehow we lose that in organizations when we follow the rules, when we have to show up as our professional selves. So the question and what I've been able to help people do is to really reveal their sage qualities all the time, whether they're working as individuals or within a team context.
I agree with everything you said there, except that we all know how with scraps in the kitchen to be able to make a great meal. I think I can, but my wife disagrees with you. So I'm not sure but everything else you said there was really awesome. And so thank you. Do you typically then look for executive teams or work with the CEO only? It sounds like you work with the power of this could be really magnified if more people within a working group have this knowledge.
Yes. So one of my tenets of one of the principles that I work with is that leaders, i.e. anybody who's leading a team of 3 or more people, they really have the ability to impact on our world, because the systems thinking tells us that everybody in here in this group is being impacted by what Doug shared and what Connie shared. And therefore they have the ability to infect everyone in their family, everyone who they meet today with this information. So it's not only at the leadership level, because sometimes not only at the CEO level, because sometimes the CEO is so far removed from the processes that you work with every day, with the customers that you work with every day. So it's really those managers and leaders of teams that I work with and create this sense of safety so that people can show up as their brilliant selves every day and really contribute to the vision of the organization and what they want to give to their customers.
Fantastic. Great comments. Does anybody have any either questions or comments from what Connie talked about or that Maxine talked about? And I'd love to hear from Andrea and Brenda and everybody in the room as well. But in the meantime, are there any other comments that people would like to make, please?
I just have a question, like what would be the process? Because I did the 6-week process last year. And so what would be our next steps? How is that planned?
Oh, okay, great. So Claudia, please introduce yourself as well so that everybody knows who you are, and then we can definitely answer your question. Sorry, I didn't see your hand raised.
Okay, that's all right. My name is Claudia Flores. I am a member of Global Chamber in El Salvador's chapter. I'm a professional certified coach with ACC credentials from ICF. I'm a bicultural bilingual coach. And yes, my question is, I already did the 6-week certification process with my small pod that I had. And so what would be my next steps if I decide to continue or whatever you're working with?
Great question. Connie or Andrea, or Maxine, how would you answer that?
So Claudia, there is a certification. So you're already a coach. You can go through the professional certification with positive intelligence. And then I encourage you to get on the app and keep that app live so you can get what they call the Grow program. And there are several modules in there that Shirzad keeps adding to. So anybody who is in that live app can go to there, look at a module. It has conflict management, leadership, persuasion, relationships, and continue to learn and develop there. And that will add to your coaching menu. Andrea, anything else that you would like to add?
Well, absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm also a certified coach with Positive Intelligence. As Connie mentioned, we went through the program together and have been using Positive Intelligence mental fitness coaching and training with my clients since we took it back in October 2020. And I'm really relating to a lot of what people have shared here today, Claudia, Maxine, others, about what they're doing and what they're facing. Part of what I do is I am a speaking, story, performance, and presentation skills coach and trainer, in addition to being an executive coach, a leadership coach. And I don't know how many of you need to sometimes get in front of people. You need to get in front of your boards, your teams, maybe you do some public speaking, whatever. And so a lot of the people that I work with, they need to do that. And I don't care who you are, myself included. I have been on stage more than like 2,500 times. I've presented in front of millions of people. I don't care who you are. There's that little part of you sometimes that gets nervous. Maybe you even deal with stage fright a little bit. And I've worked with CEOs, I've worked with entrepreneurs, I've worked with people that are going before venture capitalists to try to get funding. And there's a part of them that is nervous, that they're afraid of failure. Or what if I don't show up right? Maxine, Doug, I also have a hyperachiever as one of my top saboteurs, and I think of it as, what have you done for me lately? You just never do enough. And a lot of folks show up that way in their meetings with their teams or their speaking presentations. And what I know is that everybody wants to feel that freedom. They want to feel free to express, and they want to have some joy in that presentation. They want to be able to not only be strategic and calm and on point and focused, but they want to enjoy it and really connect with people. And what I have found through the Positive Intelligence program is this is something that if you do make the effort, if you go through the program, you do the practice, you start that 7 weeks, you download that operating system, you just start doing the practice. The whole concept behind Positive Intelligence is ease and flow, right? So when you get into SAGE, it's ease and flow. When you start to grow those muscles in the SAGE brain, it's not about trying. Yes, it's about putting the time in, making the effort, doing the steps. But one of the first things is I don't have to try, and I just need to take the steps. And that part of my brain will grow, which makes all the difference when I show up in front of people. So that hyperachiever gets quieted, right? That creative sage brain, that calmness, that presence is what I like to call it, that being able to be present and right there with people instead of having that, oh my God, what am I going to say next? Who am I? Blah, 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 that starts to get quieted. And it starts by doing that first 7-week program, 6-week program, because you're downloading the operating system. And then my experience with this for myself has been that over time, after you do the 6-week program where you get the basics and you start to really integrate, in the first 2 weeks, you notice changes in yourself. And then it starts to integrate. And then if you go into certification, or if you go as a coach, or you go into the Grow program as a participant, those changes are happening whether you're noticing them or not. The blind spots that you had, because we all have them, the blind spots that you had, you start to go, oh, I didn't know that. And you start to have these awarenesses and these aha moments that you didn't have before. Just the fact that you can walk into the office, and I know this was for me, I had a hyperachiever, a stickler, and a victim were my top 3. And I drive myself crazy over little things that ultimately really don't matter. They don't matter. And I drive my team crazy over little things that don't matter, or get disrupted and not be able to focus on creating what I was creating. doing the positive intelligence program, being able to interrupt those saboteurs and refocus my brain on stage has made completely the whole difference in how, not only how I feel, but my effectiveness with my team. You know, I don't have people emailing me or hiding, hiding from me because they don't want to get taken down, for something that they did. Uh, so it's really a game changer, as Maxine said, in terms of being able to focus and not only feel good, but have more creativity in what you're actually doing and create relationships that are more grounded in that. And if you happen to be getting in front of people, it's a whole different thing to have those tools to be able to get present and engaged and calm and speak from that freedom and to have some fun while you're doing it. So those have been, I mean, I've driven through a hurricane and it made all the difference having a larger sage presence, to be able to even meet emergencies, challenges, be that leader, be that person. So I would really strongly suggest that, especially with the offer that Doug is providing, that this is a game changer in ways you don't even know, you can't even imagine, because they're in your blind spots.
I'd love to hear from Brenda and Dana. These are two people that I don't know whether you've been exposed to these ideas or how you managed through what Andrea just talked through in terms of how you are sages. Certainly visibly to us, that's how you appear to us. How have you gotten to be the way you are, and how is what people are talking through here resonating or not resonating with you? Either Dana or Brenda, do you have some thoughts?
Well, hi, Doug. It's Brenda. It's nice to see you, garage and all. It's been a while.
Thank you.
So everyone, my name is Brenda Harrington. I am in the Mid-Atlantic region of the U.S. I don't know, Doug, I guess I've been a Global Chamber member 200-300 years, no, about 5 years or so, or 6. So I'm really happy to hear this conversation taking place here. I'm a certified executive coach, Georgetown coaching program. I'm PCC through ICF. And I am familiar with the program. I've not gone through it. Time has not permitted. The schedules have never worked out, but many of my colleagues at Georgetown speak very highly of it. And it's very interesting here for me to hear some of the impact and the experiences that you have had. I just want to echo what I'm hearing around creativity and innovation. Nothing more important now for the development of leadership competencies, and particularly psychological safety, making it safe to learn and experiment and take chances and grow. So I'm really happy to hear about the offer, and we'll think about who to perhaps invite and expose this to, because I think it's if not near at the top of the list of things that people in leadership roles need to be focusing on right now globally to survive and to thrive. So thank you for this conversation.
That's so true. I'm wondering did COVID bring these issues out in terms of its importance? I mean, how is what we've all been through the last few years maybe elevated mental health and mental fitness to a higher level, and our politics and kind of our societies also contributing to our awareness of how divisive we can be with each other when these issues can be so important and so valuable in business? What are some of the factors that have brought us here? Do you see like macro changes, or is it just something that's always been necessary, and not enough people really jumped in?
I think it's always been necessary, but I think that for a long time we've been able to camouflage it. And I think COVID amplified it. The fact that you really have to be a lot more intentional to connect with people, to interact with people when you're remote and when you're working virtually. I did a 2-day retreat last week with a team that was comprised of people from about 15 countries. And it was the first time that they had been in a room together ever, because the team was formed during COVID. Okay. And so, just think about the dynamics of that, different cultures, different personalities, and all trying to make it work through a camera. So just more important than ever. I think it's always been there, but under different circumstances, you know, we can see over it, and we don't have that luxury anymore.
That makes sense.
I couldn't agree with you more, Brenda. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Just answering that latter question that you raised, Doug. Certainly, COVID has revealed how we respond under pressure, and I think we all could be on the same page saying that this pandemic was one of the highest levels of pressures that we've experienced around the world simultaneously. And it put a strain on people's communication style, time together. And in the healthcare arena, since my background is both healthcare and speaking and writing, I've got to experience it intimately, and how, at least in nursing, one thing I do know, we always know you can handle the crisis and you burn later, you know, like a crash and burn. But the pandemic did not allow a recovery time because it was ongoing, and the demands and the impacts on us physically, mentally, cause a different level of stress like we've never experienced before. So that's one thing I think that's brought us to recognize the need for mental health awareness, self-care, and other interventions. I love this positive intelligence talk and possibilities. And I will share a story that I think it's relevant and also funny. So how I deal with life is, one, I try to take it on as it comes. I can't do anything else about what's coming. So I try to take it on as it comes, but I do plan. And my faith is a very key part of who I am and how I show up. And I want to believe in the best. I want to believe in the best for each person until I learn otherwise. So I show up in that capacity. And so I was working in health IT at the time of the pandemic in the same healthcare system, but I'd moved over to the IT side, right? Don't think I'm an expert on the IT, but on the medical charts, I can do that. And the pandemic hit. My boss called me like 2 months in and said, "Hey, we're gonna have to furlough you." And I had heard the word furlough. I heard people use it, but in healthcare, I've never ever had. Sorry. I'm sorry, I've never had a layoff or being released from anything. So I said, "Well, what does that mean actually?" She goes, "Well, that means, you know, for 3 months, you're not going to be in your role. We're going to send you home and, you know, we'll provide your healthcare benefits for you." I said, "Okay, well, let me finish up what I've got going on this morning for the day, and then I'll leave." She goes, "No, you can leave now." Well, all of that was a surprise. So I'm fast forwarding it. And what they offered us was to be students enrolling at a happiness course at Yale University. And I thought, well, how ironic is that? They are putting me on furlough and telling me I should be happy about it. And not only should I be happy about it, but I should take a course on how to be happy about it. And there was some resistance, some internal resistance, but I embraced it and I took the course. So my exposure to, you know, it wasn't the terminology of positive intelligence, but it was really on how to create your own happiness. And I believe that's always been my responsibility. No, I didn't always believe that, but I believe it is my responsibility. And I think at the age of 30, I accepted it as my responsibility.
That's awesome. And I would say it does weave into positive intelligence in a very strong way, because one of the things that, and I'll let the experts talk about it, but one of the very impactful concepts that Shirzad talks about is that everything is a gift, and it's either something to celebrate or something to contemplate. And that's, I don't think his words, but it, by thinking of things in those ways, as a hyperachiever, it's helped me reduce stress immensely, because hyperachievers want like results, right? Like create stuff and have impact. And sometimes it doesn't work out as you expect. And that puts pressure on the front end piece and the back end piece, trying to like But what he says is, don't worry about it. Everything is a gift, no matter what happens. And one of the things that I realized through that, beyond work, was that I think some of the, I mean, maybe this doesn't sound quite right, but some of the most significant gifts that have changed my life over time have been the death of people very close to me. It allowed me, not always right away, in fact, never right away, but over time allowed me to really evaluate the person and what I loved about them and how they had impacted me, and was able to incorporate so much about them into me. And the fact that they're not physically here almost became secondary. They're still here. They're still in my heart. And I recognize that through Shirzad's concept of the gift. Everything is a gift, even those horrific tragedies. There's something to be done. We see that in life all the time, right? Some of the most amazing things that happen in the world are through tragedy, and people take that tragedy and turn it into a positive. And I think that's one of the most amazing gifts of positive intelligence is that. That's just my own personal thought. I probably have it all wrong, but Connie and Andrea and Maxine, I mean, doesn't he talk about that? And that, isn't that part of the whole process?
Yeah, one of the things, Doug, that has been so impactful for myself and for the people I've worked with is being able to use that sage power of navigate, which is essentially whatever is happening in this moment, whether it's a relationship issue, a business issue. If I fast forward and I say, if I'm at the end of my life healthy of mind and body, what would I do right now? How would I show up right now? And it puts everything in perspective. How am I being? Who do I want to be here? And oftentimes for me, putting myself in that place and going, is this really the big deal I think it is? Or is there a gift and an opportunity to be gleaned from this and then move forward with this gift and opportunity? It's a whole different mindset than getting bogged down in the minutia, and in just trying to keep up every day with all of the things that are in front of us. And in fact, one of the things I was wanting to address about that is the whole issue of time. Your saboteurs are taking a heck of a lot more time to help you come to solutions than your sage will. So spending 5 minutes or 2 minutes in sage doing your PQs, which you will learn about in the program, is going to help you address an issue where your saboteur might have kept you just rolling on that mouse, that wheel for hours. And so the time issue of, oh my God, do I have time to do this? Can I do this? 2 minutes in sage, 5 minutes in sage is going to make a huge difference from spending 3 or 4 hours trying to figure something out. So actually, in the long run, is more effective and efficient to learn how to put yourself into sage.
That makes sense. I see Holly from Positive Intelligence has joined us, and I'm not sure we've met yet, but Holly, you're putting some information in the chat area. What would you like to share? Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Doug. Thank you for having me. Hi to everybody. I'm a client success specialist with Positive Intelligence. So my job is to make sure that your program runs smoothly. But of course, I've gone through the program myself, and everyone has covered so much. But I can just sort of simplify things if it helps. It's an operating system, and the beauty of it is that you learn to recognize when you're being hijacked by your saboteurs. Then you learn how to do what's called PQ reps, which just takes a couple of minutes. And then you're able to proceed in whatever situation you're in a sage mode, where you're your best self. So it's an intensive 6-week training, but that's the simplicity of it. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has, but it really is a life-changing practice.
No question. Thank you for sharing. And you've left some things in the chat area, I think.
Yes, I did. I added the saboteur assessment link for anyone that's interested. And I added the global landing page, which will take you to, where you can register for the program. And there's also lots of content there to help you help answer any questions or help you learn more if you're still curious.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And if you're watching the recording of this, we have one blog post today, and then after this session in the next couple of days, we'll put another one up with the information, with the update. You've got a couple weeks to be able to sign up, but don't delay too long. Are there anybody else that would like to share? Any thoughts around what works for you, your reaction to what you're hearing today? Thank you for joining us, by the way, Bill. I don't know whether these concepts or these ideas, you work with top executives, and so you've seen, all sorts of dysfunction, I'm sure, and also amazing leaders as well. Thank you for joining us today. Any reaction to what you've heard today?
It's all new to me, but I'm thinking it's all both resonating, and there's a portion of this that links to, are any of you familiar with something called appreciative inquiry? I'm thinking there's some tie to that. I'm a type A engineer, German, analytic idiot. And so a lot of these things, I think my coach has actually been my wife, who is sensual, but I don't mean that in the pedantic word, of the senses. And she picks up on things that are kind of oblivious to me. So suffice to say, the things that I focus on, what I was really listening for or thinking about is a focus I have called economic engagement is a very structural focus on how businesses can be much more successful, grounded in research. And I was actually thinking about how does positive intelligence, one could actually go way back and say economic engagement is a structural form of positive intelligence for a company. And that's, like pretty grand and glorious. And I don't know enough of the specifics. It might be interesting to have a follow-up conversation and just trading notes with one or two of you about what I'm doing positive intelligence, because what I know about positive intelligence is what I've learned today, and thank you.
Bill, I'd like to just touch base on the appreciative inquiry piece, if you don't mind.
Please.
I have used appreciative inquiry. I love appreciative inquiry. And one of the things about it that immediately comes to mind about PI is the anchoring piece. So you often hear about how, and I use that a lot in my process to help people anchor what they have learned. It's all about that. It's not about what I think, it's about what they're learning and what they're anchoring. And appreciative inquiry, I love that they have such a, it's a strengths-based and a positive way of moving through processes themselves and with other people and anchoring that. And you'll find that in positive intelligence. You also find that positive intelligence has a structure. It's based on research. It's well grounded in everything that we know about how this thing functions. So you have a form and you have a structure to it, and you learn to be free in that structure. Because you're igniting the part of your brain. You're literally growing the muscles in your brain that allow you to be more creative and innovative in the structures that we have as humans, and with this thing that's happening up here. And I know it hasn't been mentioned, but I know Shirzad has talked about after the 6-week program, you can put somebody in an MRI and this part of their brain has grown gray matter. Okay. And he laughs and says, and there's a little less in the survivor brain and the saboteurs, but that's okay. You got plenty, right? No worries about that. So it's very much can be married to appreciative inquiry and working within a structured form.
Interesting. David Cooperrider is a good friend and the author, as you know, of Appreciative Inquiry. Thank you.
Yes, and if I can add, there's a book out called Ego, Authority, and Failure. And the number one tactic, it's written by a former FBI hostage negotiator, and he's talking about tactical empathy. And it is a head spinner for leaders that are leading in the toxic environment. And that is what they're lacking, is that tactical empathy, meaning just really understand where the other person is coming from. And Bill, I will connect with you and we'll have a further conversation. So thank you.
Great.
Yeah, there's
Yes, thank you.
usually more there than you think, and I think that's one of the key aspects of positive intelligence, is the ability to have that empathy, to understand the other person and the opportunities much better. So thank you, Connie. Very, very important. And thank you for sharing. We only have a couple minutes left. And so would love to hear maybe some wrap up from Connie and Holly, if you'd like to wrap up. Cesar, you haven't said anything yet. You've been through the program. If you'd like to say something, of course, please do. Anybody in the last couple minutes, just say 30, 60 seconds each, wrap ups?
Well, the wrap up is the better it gets, the better it gets.
That's great. I love that. Holly, did you want to say anything?
Sure. Thanks, Doug. So I heard something that Bill said about, taking companies, taking their teams through positive intelligence together and kind of how that can benefit. So, this is a starting point. This is that can really launch you into so much more. So, you take this course and you're going to learn, again, how to quiet your saboteurs and strengthen your sage. But then you might find that this is something that you could apply to your team or your company, or, it can go in so many directions. And then beyond that, we actually have something specific to PQ powered teams and PQ powered sales. So they're individual modules, that coaches will help you with. There's earned trust. Trying to think of what the other modules are. Connie, can you remember what they are?
Oh, there are many. So
Many.
I don't know.
There's like 7, and you take them kind of once a month with your team, and it's really, really impactful. So that's just something else that you can, think about down the road. If you decide that, you enjoyed what you learned individually, there's always these other journeys you can take with your business.
Fantastic.
So thanks for letting me add that, Doug.
Yeah, of all the things I've taken, and I've probably taken 100 different self-improvement things in my life, everything has been a less than 1, except Myers-Briggs, which I was able to use on an executive team, and that worked out pretty well. I would rate that as probably a 20 on a scale of 0 to 100. Positive intelligence for me has been 100. So like there's nothing even close to be able to be as comprehensive and as easy and as beneficial of anything I've ever tried. So I just really believe in it, and that's why maybe I'm I want to make sure that the tribe is aware of it, and certainly that there are people where it's so positively impacted, and it's certainly made a huge difference in my life, not just business but personally as well. Any final comments? Cesar, you've been quiet. I don't know whether you can talk or not. Cesar's got a lot going on, including his 3rd child on the way very soon. So congratulations on that. You've been through positive intelligence, and it's also made a difference in your life as well. So congratulations on that. Any final comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, Doug, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna continue using the app as the baby gets to home. It's gonna be a little bit challenging, but yeah, I want to compliment on the comments. I went to the program. It's been very helpful, and I haven't been as loyal as I wanted to be to the app, but still go on a daily basis to get the even to just get the Shirzad voice. It's just amazing, and the way he explained things and the daily challenges and all that. It's really amazing, and I think someone mentioned before that this is something that's follows a research, and you can tell there's a lot of science behind it, and you can actually feel how the brain changes when you're going to the PQ app and all that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, my days are so much better when I do the daily exercises. It's about a 2-minute audio. This is after the 7 weeks, about a 2-minute audio, and then there are 3 sections of usually less than 2 minutes each that you do during the day. So it's a grand total of about 10 minutes total and a summary. And my days are so much better when I do that. And so I actually try to keep up every day. And if I skip a day, you can go back and do the previous day. So thank you, Cesar, for sharing that. Connie, thank you so much for jumping in today, and thank you all for joining. Watch for the recording and the links. Any final word? I mean, you already kind of said it, put the punctuation point on it. The better it gets, the better it gets, and it sure does.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank
Have
you,
a
guys.
good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave.